Hello, my name is Kate McMahon, and I am here today with an update on a profile show that we did last spring with Ryan Castle. And Ryan is the executive director of the Cape Cod and Islands Association of Realtors. Thanks for being here today, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Ryan, can you go ahead and share with our audience what the Association of Realtors here on the Cape does and the place they have in the business?
Yeah, we support our members who are realtors in the community, which on Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, who help people buy and sell homes, include appraisers, commercial members, and really just that community of those that are in the real estate profession that are the professionals, by providing them professionalism and advocacy around the real estate transactions and the business that drives the Cape's economy.
That's great. So a very important role, understanding exactly what is going on in such an important role in industry on the Cape.
Yeah, and then we also run and own the multiple listing service, which is the main engine for how people list homes for sale using our real estate professional.
That sounds great. That's actually a great segue into when we chatted last spring, which was really at the beginning of the pandemic. And you had shared with us some of the changes, the pivots that you and your members made really quickly, and that included technology and using the MLS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they had to get up and going really quick. I think probably the industry accelerated in April and May in technology, probably about 5 years in about 6 weeks. As members started getting more comfortable doing virtual open houses or other things that made virtual offerings better. For example, we launched to our members a floor plan app that allows them to create a floor plan for only $12 to attach to their listing, because we think it's really vital, even pre-pandemic, but even more so during it, to know what the flow of the home is before you even go look at it, to get more of that technology out there to the consumer. So really our members have shifted in a lot of that stuff and really embraced it to where to be able to make home viewing and home selling a safer time during this time.
Now, with this amazing increase in the technology that you've introduced, are people still prospective buyers visiting homes, or are purchases happening basically based on what they see online?
Still the majority of home sales are happening with people seeing a house in person, because you get to do that. There are instances where we're seeing more than we had before. So because we were such a remote market geographically, and at times like that, people could have bought and had bought sight unseen prior, but that is definitely happening more now. But still, people are trying to still want to get in at times. And so we're seeing really good crowd control because the tight inventory, and really good safety procedures put in place by our members to only allow one group in at a time and things of that nature. So really good safety protocols have been put in place by the industry.
That's great. That's great. Now, again, when we spoke in the spring, you were predicting a strong summer market. And how accurate were those predictions?
Probably not accurate, because I under predicted.
Wow.
It would be stronger than we anticipated, right? I mean, in blunt honesty, 2020 was the best real estate market on Cape Cod ever. There were more sales transactions than we have electronic records of, which date back to 2000 till 2000. The registry says there may have been more transactions for them in 1999, but definitely highest median sales price, most volume of real estate ever transacted, and like I said, most sales in at least 20 years.
That's amazing. And is that all pandemic driven?
A lot of it, I think we really buckled down the buyers into three different kinds of people on the demand that's coming. Really, it's people that were going to retire that moved up their plans. So we might have borrowed them from a couple of years from now. because they had already retired and they were going to move down here in a couple of years, or they were ending their careers and they may accelerated that end, or they can work from home as they get there, or they're still keeping their house and they're just going to move up their retirement home buying plans a couple of years. The other is a lot of when I say millennials, people start to think of 20-year-old hipsters, but that's not what millennials are anymore, right? They're mid 30s to 40-year-olds that have already been working from home, perhaps living in New York, Brooklyn, Boston proper, and really they were buying their first home on the Cape. They were renters in Boston and New York. They were already working remote, but they lived in the city for the city lifestyle that they no longer have, so they came out here. And then the last one is the really more interesting one, and probably the biggest growing segment we've seen, which is like the 35 to 55-year-old family who can spend more time out here than they traditionally would. They would have bought a house out here and spent maybe, a couple weeks a year out here or something like that. Now they're able to spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months out here. As maybe one or two of the spouses are now both working remotely or anything else like that. But this is actually where you have the more well-heeled buyer coming into the marketplace as well. So we have a higher end buyer coming in.
That's great. We have to figure out how to better integrate them into our overall economy as well. How do we talk to them?
We have to be welcoming and say, you want to be here year round. We want you here year round, right? Because if we can get them here, then they have discretionary spending income and everything else to be able to support the jobs and the services we have down here.
Yeah, and the Cape is so dynamic in so many different ways. From the involvement in organizations like Cape Cod Young Professionals to our chambers of commerce. So there's a lot of ways that we've got to help these folks become more integrated.
Absolutely.
Which we're doing. So one of the things that we've noticed, at least in our industry, is that each season this year has brought new ideas, new challenges. And as we moved into the fall, as you are aware, here on the Cape and definitely elsewhere, school districts chose different models on how to get the kids back to learning. People were beginning to talk about the vaccine being on the horizon. Now, how did that impact real estate on the Cape and Islands?
Yeah, so you saw more people down here in the fall, just in general, we believe, if you look at water numbers or sewer usage numbers or electricity usage numbers, more people were occupying homes, and a lot of those were new purchasers, right? So there are people that when we look at what schools were doing, we look at what they were doing in New York, Connecticut, and Boston proper, in the Boston metro area, to see how people work. Because if they went remote, then maybe people stayed down here. Where I've heard people, they were going in person Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they'd come down the rest of the week, things of that nature. So it really did impact that last group of people I was talking about, being the more interesting new home buyers, also being how they did it, and then also whether it actually affected school enrollment or not. I'm hearing pots where in some districts it did, some school districts didn't, things of that nature, but on whether more people enrolled down here or not.
Yeah. So I know you just said a moment ago that you didn't have a great prediction for the summer, but it was still
I probably underpredicted. It exceeded even the expectations that I thought could have.
Yeah, that's a better way to say it than how I said it. Nonetheless, the market just ended up with a true bang at the end of 2020.
Yeah, really the high points were July, August, September is where we saw a lot of the activity. After you get there, the demand kind of is still there for people to buy homes, but inventory has really fallen off. We're down to around 600 homes for sale, single family and condos Cape wide. Less than that. Last year, this time we were over 1,800. And then a lot of what was the entry level or the sweet spot for Cape purchases, kind of that $300,000 to $500,000 price point. There's not much for sale because either it all sold or those people are more likely the year-rounders who aren't putting their house up for sale right now, things of that nature. And so that price point really has very little inventory on the market, which is really where the bulk of your buying usually happens.
Got it. So what's your crystal ball tell you for 2021?
I'm getting really worried about, I mean, I've been worried for several years, but the pandemic has accelerated about availability. You know, towns need to get serious about building housing and allowing housing to get built, not building it necessarily themselves, because the market's got to respond and add inventory. Usually we like to say a healthy length of inventory on the market is 6 months, which means it takes 6 months to sell everything that's on the market that's healthy. On the Cape right now, it's hovering about a month. However, the 6 month mark is usually determined because that's how long it takes to build a new house. On the Cape, it takes much longer than that. So, you know, could healthy inventory be actually 9 months, 12 months? Because one of the problems is in other markets around the country, you add new inventory to that wasn't previously built to kind of allow people to move up. But one of the big holdbacks and what good realtors are talking to their clients are finding them places to go if they want to sell, right? And I think that's the most important thing, and that's what's holding up a lot of sellers is where do I go? But good realtors are working them through that, using their connections and finding places to get that seller into something until they can find something they want to buy.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. They're definitely being creative, the realtors. And I know your organization supports them with all sorts of industry information across the country and how they can also help locally.
Absolutely.
The professionals in your organization. So is there anything else that you want to mention? Anything else that I missed today that is interesting or important for folks to know about real estate on the Cape and Islands?
No, I mean, I think that shrinkage of availability, like I don't think people see it at a wide scale of the little homes that are for sale, because people ride by and see a for sale sign here or there, but when they look at it broadly, it's just not there at the massive scale. I mean, you can ride through subdivisions of 100, 200, 300 homes and not see a thing for sale, which is unusual. And so, and then also that well-heeled buyer coming into the marketplace has driven up pricing of houses. And so it really is imperative that we come together as a community and find ways to increase availability of housing.
Yes, couldn't agree with you more. Well, thank you so much for joining me today for this update in a very important part of the Cape economy. And we look forward to having you back soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ryan.